And welcome back to Reactioncast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus. Today we're diving into Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the sequel that promises more animatronics, deeper lore, and a scarier ride, but mostly delivers a mechanical mess.
So this is what it's like? Being normal?
I think we've come pretty far, considering what we've been through.
How's Abby?
Some days she's good, some days she misses her friends.
This story that you're gonna fix those animatronics, it's only giving her false hope.
Can any of you hear me?
Abby, help us. Come find us. I will show you the way.
Oh no.
Now, whether you're a FNAF fan or just a horror-curious individual, this one might leave you more confused than creeped out. Let's talk about it. Five Nights at Freddy's picks up sometime after the first film, with Mike Schmidt, played again by Judge Hutcherson, trying to hold things together while caring for his younger sister Abby. But this time around, Abby starts to have weird visions and strange dreams connection to the animatronics from the original Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. As the mystery deepens, Abby finds herself drawn to the original restaurant, long abandoned and full of secrets. Meanwhile, Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lale, Names. The police officer with a dark past begins confronting her own trauma, especially the legacy of her father, William Afton, whose crimes are far from buried. At the heart of this all is the Marionette, a new supernatural force that ties to the past and the ability to possess humans. With Abby connections growing stronger and more dangerous, Mike and Vanessa are forced to work together to uncover the truth before the horrors lurking in the shadows claim more victims. There's talks of the Fazbear Festival, a town-wide event celebrating the franchise legacy, and hints that the past is bleeding into the present. But despite the build-up, don't expect it to go where you think. The film leans heavily into the franchise lore, introduces new characters tied to deeper mythos, but whether you're a returning fan or just jumping in, this sequel assumes you already know the rules of the game. So that's the general plot of this without super major spoilers. But let's first talk about the cast. Because let's start with Josh Hutcherson. He's back as Mike Schmidt, but honestly, he barely given anything to do. His character feels like he's just here out of obligation, reacting to things more than affecting them. Compared to his arc in the first film, this is a big step back. Elizabeth returning as Vanessa, and she's given more dramatic material this time, flashback, dream sequences, breakdowns, but the writing doesn't do her any favors. She's clearly trying to bring emotional weight to the story, but the scenes either drag or feel disconnected. Now, Piper Rubio as Abby gets most of the screen time. She's meant to be the emotional center, the one with the special bond to the animatronics. There are the moments where that almost works, but the character's motivations are all over the place. Whether she's meant to be I don't know how to bet. It's just like highly sensitive. It isn't clear. It just makes her journey harder to invest in when it comes to this supernatural stories. Then there's the big names like Sketch Ulrich, McKenna Grace, and Matthew Lillard, all whom were promoted like major players but shockingly get little screen time. Lillard in particular feels wasted, especially after his wild performance in the first film. It's not the acting is bad, it's that the script gives almost nobody enough to work with. You got a cast full of talent stuck in a story that doesn't know how to, know what to do with them, which is kind of disappointing. So diving into a little bit of the plot points, really getting into the gut of this thing, more specifically the lack of one that actually Five Nights at Freddy's 2 wants to be a lore-heavy sequel that dives deeper into the mythos, and it tries to connect Abby to the animatronics, build tension around Vanessa's past, and position the marionette as this new ominous threat. But it's trying to do all that and forgets to build on the narrative that flows. The movie starts slow, painfully slow. For nearly an hour, it bounces between dream sequences, flashback, long conversations that really don't go anywhere in the long run. And then there's very little action, horror, or emotional momentum. It feels like we're watching a build-up to a movie that never actually starts. The biggest issue, this story is 90%. It feels like it's 90% set up for the next film in the series. Key events like the hinted Fazbear Festival never really played out. Huge revelations are dropped and then brushed aside. Scenes that should be emotional turning points end up flat because they weren't properly built up. It's like they wanted all that payoff without doing all the groundwork. Scott Cawthon's solo script leans way too hard on fan knowledge. If you're deep into FNAF lore like myself, you might enjoy these pieces together, piecing together the connections. But if you're not already fluent in the Ghost Children murder timelines and animatronic hierarchies, you'll probably be completely lost like some of my other friends in the theater. The pacing issues are compounded by weak character logic. People make bizarre choices just to keep the plot moving. Tension just gets undercut by clunky dialogue and random tone shifts. But by the time the film reaches what should feel like the climax, it just ends. No catharsis, no real resolution, just a setup for part 3. Even the setup is vague and unsatisfying. A standalone story, it falls apart. As a middle chapter, it barely justifies its own existence. As much as I'm dunking on the plot, when it comes to the atmosphere, the visuals, the horror, that stuff should define a movie like this. Five Nights at Freddy is a real mixed bag. Let's start with the good. The animatronics look amazing. The Jim Henson Creature Shop once again brings serious craftsmanship to every puppet. They are fantastic. Mangle's a standout, nightmarish, switching, and unsettling in the best ways. And the marionette's design is slick too. The film barely uses her, which is a crime actually. Now the horror, it's not. It's PG-13, so you can feel it. The jump scares are loud, but not totally earned. They don't come from tension, they come from sudden cuts and cheap sound effects. There's no dread, no suspense, no build-up. Half the scares aren't even animatronics related. It's like the movie forgot it's supposed to be afraid of. And, I was waiting for the jump scare. This movie should have meant for jump scares. The possession scenes especially are just rough. They really rely on weird filters, sketchy visual effects, and the odd camera angles that look more like TikTok glitches than something creepy. The score by the Newton brothers has its moments. They are playful, eerie vibe in places, mixing retro video game tones with classic horror ambiance, but it's rarely used effectively. The music is often drowned out by overbearing sound cues and stuck under long stretches of dead air. Also worth noting, there's a ton of Easter eggs for longtime fans, from breadcrumb props to animatronic cameos. It's packed, and that doesn't substitute the actual storytelling or scares. So yeah, great puppet, mediocre horror, and wasted opportunities across the board. So here's where I land with the second installment for Five Nights at Freddy's films. It's got the right pieces on paper: returning characters, deeper lore, creepy animatronics, a darker vibe. But what it doesn't have is structure or urgency, or an ending that feels earned. It's trying too hard to be connective tissue between movie 1 and 3 that it forgets to stand on its own. Look, I get it. This franchise thrives on mystery, hidden details, and this decades of fan theories, I've been in it. But even the most lore-dense story still needs to be watchable, and this one barely holds it together. Everything feels like a setup. Scenes linger too long, characters' motivations are cloudy, and the scares mostly noise without weight. There's a good movie buried somewhere underneath, especially with the animatronic work, but it's never fully comes to life, unlike the animatronics. Yeah, I had to throw a little bit in there. But that said, if you're a die-hard FNAF fan, this might still give you exactly what you came for. The Easter eggs, the creepy atmosphere, the continuity deep cuts. But for anyone else, your general audience, it's going to feel like you just walked into a middle of a conversation you weren't invited to. And that's gonna wrap this episode of Reactioncast. If you saw Five Nights at Freddy's 2, let me know your thoughts. Did the fan service hit? Did the marionette work for you? Or are you also waiting for this franchise to finally deliver on the massive potential? Hit me up in the comments, message me on socials, or drop your reaction wherever you're tuning in. And if you like the breakdown, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, or share the show. It really helps more than folks find us. Thanks again for watching or listening. Until next time, see ya.